We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are
There's
more
no
than just talk.
combination of words I could put on the back of a postcard. No song that I could sing, but I can try for your heart. And our dreams, and they are made out of real things, like a shoebox of photographs with sepia tone loving. Love is the answer, at least, for most of the questions.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pathways to Love. I am your host, Julie Orlov, and I'm delighted to spend another Friday afternoon with all of you. As usual, I am dedicated to helping you create very strong and intimate relationships in every area of your life. And I have been doing this work for over 25 years as a psychotherapist, executive coach, speaker, and the author of The Pathway to Love books and programs. So you are in store for a very entertaining show today. I'm very excited with who our guests, which I'm going to introduce in a little bit. But I first wanted to just touch on the fact that, believe it or not, Valentine's Day, since love is my business, is only 3 weeks away. And I can already feel the tension building in the air. You can already see people starting to say, these are the greatest Valentine's Day gifts, and what are you going to do for your loved one? And oh my God, the pressure's building. So this is what I'd like to tell all of you. You know, Valentine's Day is a lovely Hallmark holiday, let's call it that celebrates love and relationships, but I don't want people to feel like the future of their relationships are on that one day, and there's so much pressure and people get so disappointed. And I feel really bad for the guys out there, to be perfectly honest. There's tons of pressure out there, and we are actually going to have a show before Valentine's Day to help you guys out with some ideas and things that you can do that will take some of the pressure off you. And we, the day after Valentine's Day, then we'll deal with all the disappointments and everything that everybody has to deal with. So we're going to cover it from both angles, because there is a way to turn those disappointments into wonderful, intimate connections that will take you out throughout the year and build more love and intimacy in the relationships with the people that you love. And then in honor of Valentine's Day, so there's a couple things that I can do for you that might help you with creating a really special and loving relationship. And those are two things. So I will be holding a live half-day workshop in the beautiful Hermosa Beach here in California. So if you are in Los Angeles, please join me on Saturday morning, February 23rd. We will deal with all the wonderful things that occurred for you and all the things that did not occur for you on Valentine's Day. And we're going to get you all set up on how to create very loving and powerful relationships. And you can get more information on that event on my website. That's julieorlov.com or thepathwaytolove.com. And then if you're feeling like you want to do something that honors your relationship this year. So maybe it's not flowers, maybe it's not chocolate, maybe it's not, those usual swanky little gifts that are running around out there. What I really recommend then is that you check out the Pathway to Love at Home program, because really what that is designed to do is to take you from wherever your relationship stands. So whether you're just dating somebody new, or you're getting ready to date someone, or you've been in a very long-term relationship, it tells you what are the natural and predictable phases throughout the lifetime of a relationship and what you can expect from each one of those phases. And then it gives you the tools and the skills and the information so that you can work through those phases onto deeper levels of intimacy. What I've really done is created a powerful roadmap. And I did that because, let's face it, we're really not taught how to do relationships. And even those of us that are pretty good at relationship building and relationship skills, we all stumble, because that is the nature of relationships. So I'm going to leave you at that so you can get information on the program and the workshop. And I promise we will take care of you all the way through Valentine's Day and thereafter. So don't worry, we're going to handhold you through that and make sure no catastrophes happen in your life. Okay, so first I just want to introduce my co-host again today, Mr. Stephen Tako. Thank you for being here, Stephen.
Nice to be here. Thank you for inviting me back.
Of course, I always love having you. I love your T-shirt, by the way. You have your famous Dancing Yeti T-shirt on. I love it.
Thank you very much. Yeah, yep.
And if you haven't checked out his videos, you've got to Google YouTube for, is it under Stephen Tako?
Actually, if they look up The Dancing Yeti, mine's usually the first one to come up, and I'm just shy of 6,000 hits so far.
Wow, and it's really fun. So if you haven't done that, you should check Stephen out. Now, today's topic is called Laughing Your Way Through the Joy and Pain of Relationships. Can we relate to this statement?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and if you don't have a sense of humor, you're in big trouble, don't you say?
Yeah, if you don't have a sense of humor, you can just turn the radio off.
Yeah, if you have a sense of humor, just call it a day and close your blinds, close the door, get into bed, and just let it be.
Take some medicine.
Yeah, because nothing else is going to come up for you. So, anyways, we have. Let me just formally introduce our guest, and then we can chime in and let her tell us how how she goes about laughing her way through the joy and pain of relationships. So we can all chime in. Today's guest is Alicia Datner. She is a stand-up comic and a comedy coach. And Alicia is, she has been touring the world, selling out her one-woman shows like Eat, Pray, Laugh, and the Oi of Sex, and the Punchlines, and winning awards including the Best Storyteller in the New York United Solo Festival, Best of the Fringe in the San Francisco Fringe Festival, and Best Comedian 2011 in the East Bay Express. Oh my God, she has accomplished quite a bit. Now she's bringing together comedians with a sense of spirituality and spiritual teachers with a sense of humor in the world's first online spiritual comedy festival, and that runs January 29th through March 21st. Wow, that's a long festival. That's a lot of spirituality and laughter all in one. So that will get you through Valentine's Day too. So without further ado, let's please welcome Alicia Datner to the show. Alicia, are you there? She's not there. Okay, so we're waiting for Alicia to Skype in. If you're watching, Alicia, if you're having trouble Skyping in, you can always call in as a backup. So that number is 323-247-7443. So we'll wait on that. And when Alicia finds her way here, there just must be some technical difficulties, I'm sure, on her end.
What were the dates again of that event?
The event is January 29th through March 21st. And I think when she gets on, I think she'll give the exact website because I just have the highlighted link here. I'm trying to think if there's, here we go. You can just go to spiritualcomedyfestival.com. And I think, we'll talk to her more about this, but I think it's an interesting idea to bring spirituality and comedy together because sometimes we can just get so hung up on spirituality being so serious and not as humorous as it could be.
Oh, so. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so we have a caller, and I'm going to guess that's Alicia. So welcome to the show. Is that you, Alicia?
It is me, yes.
Well, yay! You made it on.
Welcome.
So we're glad to have you. So everybody officially welcome. Give Alicia Datner a warm welcome. Yay! So I just want to ask you this. Like, when was the first time that you knew you were funny and you knew you had a different way that you looked at things?
Well, I would say that I was very young. I don't know, 5, 6. I would say that it was even more that I had a different way of looking at things than I was funny, and that I actually thought things were funny myself. I had my own sense of what was funny to me. And I think that's even more important than whether we're funny or not to other people. So that's my experience.
I totally agree with that. I have to tell you, around my dinner table, I crack myself up all the time.
I'm one of my best audiences.
Yeah, and I laugh out loud. And to this day, my daughters still look at me and say, "Really, Mom? You think you're that funny? Who laughs out loud at their jokes?" But I'm glad to hear that that's a good sign.
Yeah.
And so tell me a little bit about this comedy, the spiritual comedy festival that you're putting together, because it sounds really interesting to bring these two components together. What gave you that idea, and how is it going?
Well, in my life, I have been a fan of comedy since I was a kid, and I have just felt that comedy is just such a beautiful way of being in your body and loving the world, and also expressing your really deep truth and your opinions, and being irreverent, and speaking your truth in a way that lets the world be transformed. And after about 15 years of doing stand-up comedy, I just felt like there wasn't enough sacredness for me. And over the years, I've brought more and more of myself into the spiritual realm. And my comedy sort of was in the closet for a while. And finally, I just felt like they'd have to go together somehow, because in reality, there's nothing separate. Laughter, joy, spirituality, it's all the same thing. And so I just decided it's time to bring this together, and people have been coming out of the woodwork. So many people, not just the speakers and comedians and teachers that I've asked to be on it, but more and more people are saying, I do that too. Can I be a part of the festival?
That's great, because what I hear you saying is that you've come into a time where you can let all the sides of yourselves be revealed and be present and be out there in the world. Because I think a lot of people, when they think of comedians, they think, okay, well, they express themselves in this safe way. I think kids that are picked on learn to have a sense of humor to kind of buffer their feelings. But in some ways, I would think being that vulnerable, being on stage doing a one-woman show is an incredibly brave and vulnerable thing to do. And in some ways, I think comedy is so much more courageous, because comedians actually let it all out, where other people may hide behind a particular persona or a particular role. Did you find that comedy was an outlet, a way for you to express yourself?
Definitely. I have a people-pleasing side, and a side of politeness and wanting to really have people like me, just really, really wanting people to like me and to get along, and for there not to be conflict. And when I step on stage, everything is different. It's like I actually get to express all of the things that I would not have said to someone's face. And I can say it on stage.
So in other words, comedy was the first Facebook medium.
Yes, but when you get on stage and you don't know anyone in the audience, there is a way where I can be more vulnerable, actually, than if there were people there I knew, because in every moment I'm actually creating who you think I am and who we are together. And so I can share anything, really, if I imagine that you don't actually know me yet. So I can become whoever I am on stage, and I love that about it. It's a very transformative experience, because there's vulnerability, there's truth, there's edginess.
I think that's great. So here's my question for you. When did you decide to take on relationships in your comedy?
Almost all of my comedy since I started was about relationships. It was always, usually in the beginning, it was about how guys were scared of me, or how, being jilted, or somehow things not working out in all sorts of different ways. And so it eventually, when I started moving into creating one-woman shows, both of my first one-woman shows, one was called The Punchline and the second one was called Eat, Pray, Laugh, and they definitely talk about relationships in the context of comedy and traveling in India. And then my third one-woman show, which is called The Oi of Sex, I just decided I'm going to put all of my material together and talk about the really honest stuff that's been going on in my life around relationships, and share that in a way that also transforms people and brings light to the challenges and the pain.
How can you have a comedy show called The Oi of Sex and avoid like discussing all the personal sexual encounters that you've had with past boyfriends or whatever? I mean, do you just like go out?
How can I avoid it?
I mean, do you just talk about all that stuff? I mean, is that what the show is?
Yeah, I talk about it all.
No wonder guys are afraid of you. They know that if they do anything wrong, if they're not the right size, if they're not they're not talented in every area, all of a sudden you're going to go up and start talking about it.
It's like an incarnation of Taylor Swift. Not
that I would be concerned, but other guys would be concerned.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I mean, to Alicia's defense, women do this all the time. We just do this, amongst ourselves. So she's just doing it, out loud to an audience. I mean, wouldn't you say that's true? I mean, when you get together with your best girlfriend and you've had a bad date, I mean, it's a field day, wouldn't you say?
It is like that. Yeah, it is kind of like getting on stage and just talking with my girlfriends. And guys do kind of listen in a way that maybe gives them a different perspective that they might not have heard. And I also, I certainly do make some fun of men, but I certainly don't name any of them with their real names. and really the bigger context is owning my own part in what's happened in each of those experiences, and really showing that, oh, maybe this was an awful experience, but realizing that, oh my God, I did that. I was complicit in that experience, in that act, in that, all of it is really about showing what I'm realizing about myself, what I don't want anymore, and what I want more of instead.
Now, do you get like, like a lot of entertainers, they get like kind of crude, I mean, do you use like all the slang language, or do you?
Stephen wants to know really just how much. He's ready to look you up.
I love it. Yes, I do. I really get in there. I go all the way. You would see the show and go, oh my God, this was worth my $25.
Not if I was your last date.
What I really believe is that in each of my words, in all of the moments of getting down into the nitty-gritty humanness of it, and the swearing and the sex and stuff, that it's really actually I'm praying at the same time. It's an act of bringing spirit in each of those moments and healing those things, and also laughing at them and making space and making it okay, and really charging, even this very sort of profane experience with light and with love, and asking to have there be more divinity inside that. So I really see it as a spiritual act.
I think that's perfect, because you're describing really how I see relationships, that they really are the vehicle for healing. And, it can be done through tears, but it can also be done through laughter. And if you have the choice, I say go for the laughter if you can, because really, I think you nailed it. It's a matter of laughing in a way where you're laughing with somebody at their vulnerabilities and their quirkiness, at the same time really laughing at your own, so that you both can own each other's part in a very loving way that connects you, rather than, provides or creates some distance between the two of you. I think that's great, because, we all, oh my God, we all have our weirdness. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter who you're with. I remember I've dated people and I say, God, he's just a little weird. And my, wise friends or wise family says, yeah, and who isn't? And I say, yeah, that's so true. We all have our weirdness. And if we can laugh about it, I think that just makes it work much better.
Now, what would happen if all of a sudden you met the guy, the one that, man, he is the guy in bed. He's got the looks. He's got everything. Would it ruin your career? Because now you don't have any fresh material.
Yes. Yeah. I actually have had this question question in my mind for a number of years. In fact, when I was 20, I was still a virgin, and
Wow.
I had started doing comedy when I was 18 or 19, and so I was kind of terrified that, once I had sex with someone, I wouldn't have any material left because my virgin material was so good.
Yeah, boy, did that change fast. You just expanded your repertoire really fast.
It turns out I'm still funny no matter what I talk about. And in fact, I have a boyfriend right now, and he has very kindly asked me that I basically run by him before really going on stage with any material that I write. And I feel like that's a really reasonable request. Like he's a really good guy, and I wouldn't want to. No one actually before him has, in fact, asked me not to write about them.
Now, let me ask you this. Has he ever, let's say, I don't know how far you guys are into your relationship, but have you guys ever had wow, a mind-blowing evening, and then he asks you, please make sure you include this?
Yeah, so you can work both ways. Very good, Stephen.
And use my name.
Right. Oh. Yeah, forget that. That's very funny. So has there ever been a time that's come up when either your boyfriend or a family member has said, you've gone too far, please don't do that again? And how has that, and especially if it's been like a big hit for you, has that ever happened?
Like someone who's seen my material who I wrote about?
Yeah, and they said, ooh, not comfortable with that.
Interesting question. No one has ever said that, although a couple of my ex-boyfriends, I think, who I've written about have not seen the shows, and so I'm just grateful for that. And my dad actually saw my show about traveling in India, and I talk a lot about him in my show there. And when he saw it, I was so terrified because I talk about him. I share these things that that are embarrassing for a father to see his daughter talking about. And he walked up to me after the show with tears in his eyes, and he was like, "I'm so proud of you."
Wow.
How nice.
I just felt, wow, just so supported and loved and accepted. And he could have not done that, and that would have been okay too, because I loved performing the show. But I would say the only person who, my mother did see the show, and she thought that I was going to do a bunch more material about her after having talked about her in several shows already, which she was already okay with. So when I had another show that came out with more about her, she was like, maybe you're done.
I don't know. I don't think kids are ever done with their parents. That's funny.
She had seen a sort of preview of the show that wasn't an actual version, so she thought that I was going to, talk about her a bunch more, and I actually wasn't.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't do it with comedy, but I do it with all the writings that I do on relationships, and I'll bring my family and my significant other in all the time. And it's pretty interesting. So far, they've all been okay. But I will say I had one argument with the guy I live with, and it was I think on a Thursday.
Only one argument?
Well, no, this was just one.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're just okay. Yeah, no. So, and I can't even remember what the argument was about, or I would break the rule and share it. But he did say to me, okay, please, I don't want to read this in your blog on Monday. and I said, okay. And then I just probably changed things around and disguised it and saved it for another day. It all comes out eventually.
Yeah.
Because don't you agree? Like, people will say, for writers, artists, actors, comedians, creative people tend to do their craft for themselves more than anybody.
Oh yeah. In my book, Motivated to Act,
Mm-hmm.
I talk about my dad and the terrible relationship that we had growing up. I talk about some dysfunction going on in one of my very close family, one of my siblings' family, and and I talk about the breakup of my marriage.
Right.
And but I went, other than my ex-wife, I went to my sister's family, I went to my dad, I went to a couple of friends, that I referred to in the book, just because I want to make sure that they had an opportunity to read the book first before I actually printed it.
Right.
And I made sure not to throw my ex-wife under the bus, as
Right.
well.
Well, of course, she doesn't listen to this show, does she?
She doesn't listen to the show.
Okay, good.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. But I don't care if she does, actually. Hope she does.
I think I've actually, now that I think about it, I don't think I've brought up my ex-husband very much. Oh God, there's whole, if you do run out of material, I could share some stories with you and give you a whole one-woman show right there.
But I think it's cool. I'd love to see your show. I think it's so neat because comics have a way, like you were saying earlier, you have a way of expressing things out that most of us want to say, we want to talk about, and yet we're so trying to be proper and not say these things that sometimes it doesn't even come to surface. Like we don't even know the words to be able to say it. And a comic will bring it out and oh gosh, I would love to be able to say that to somebody, or oh my gosh, isn't that true?
So, this could be a perfect segue because you have the opportunity to hear a little clip from one of Alicia's show.
Oh, sweet.
I know. So is that okay, Alicia? Can we run that clip?
Yeah.
All right. So for those that are watching us now, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to see the video, but you will hear the audio. And then afterwards, we'll have Alicia tell you where you can actually go to it directly if you want to see her and of course, all the mannerisms, add a whole lot. But do you want to set this up for us, Alicia?
Yeah, I'm not sure which clip you're going to play, but essentially it's from The Oi of Sex, and the whole show is really about sex and love, addiction, and recovery. And this is probably one of the addiction parts and not the recovery parts.
Okay, well, that's a good place to start. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and roll that.
Are you allowed to say your name? Anna. Anna. Give it up for Anna. I don't know if I can top that. This is so great. I love being a comedian. It's like a dream come true. Wrote my first joke when I was 11. My mom's drinking was so bad. When she quit, she had to go to AAA. The 11-year-old. It was cool because she brought home a lot of free maps. They even plan trips for you. To a meeting, from a meeting. That's like, oh. I'm the youngest of 3 children. There's me, and then mom and dad. My dad's family is Jewish. My mom's family was atheist, so I want to marry a doctor who's good enough for me. But I don't believe he exists. I moved to San Francisco right after graduating college, and I got the diploma, or as my dad likes to call it, the receipt. Met 2 guys, one really nice guy and one guy I liked. Made out with him, Jeff. Not so much of a catch, more of a catch and release. Jeff, not such a, not a great. Okay, Jeff's idea of a first date was going to Burning Man. Like that was his idea of a good first date. Can you make my jokes funnier if they're not? Let's have that in sign language. That would be cool. Not that I don't know, I just randomly had that idea for later. So, yeah, Jeff, I don't know. He was a little dumb. He was kind of like a frat boy, without the college. Okay, it was really dumb. He was kind of like, he thought analogy is the study of assholes. Like that's how. Do you ever wake up next to someone who you didn't mean to sleep with? Someone in the front row was like. And you're like. Morning! So you want to go get some chai? Yeah, sure. We'll go.
That was great. So that gives us a little taste of Alicia Datner in action. So that must have been a very fun show.
Yeah, really fun.
And did you hear from Jeff after that show?
Was Jeff his real name?
I don't think so.
No, not from Jeff. I did have a really a neat experience from, there was one guy who I put in the show who I actually called him up to interview him about what happened between us. And we had it was maybe 8 years back or 7 years back, and we had a great conversation, and I said, oh yeah, that was awful, and that thing happened, and he was like, yeah, and then he helped fill me in, and it was cool.
That's good. Okay, can you hang out with us, Alicia, a little bit longer? We need to take a break, but then I want to come back and we can chat more, and also I want to hear again how people can sign up for that, the Spiritual Comedy Festival. I want to make sure I got that right.
Yeah.
Okay, so you are listening to Pathways to Love, and we are going to take a short break, and we will be back in a couple of minutes.
Love grows in me like a tumor, parasite bent on devouring its host. I'm developing my sense of humor, till I can laugh at my heart between your teeth, till I can laugh at my face beneath your feet. Skillet on the stove, it's such a temptation. Maybe I'll be the lucky one.
Are you ready to enjoy the Maui lifestyle? You can have it all by owning real estate on the Paradise Island of Maui. Dennis Rush, a 22-year Maui resident and real estate broker, brings his wealth of experience and market knowledge to add value to your Maui real estate understanding, providing a level of service as unique and exceptional as the island of Maui itself. The magical island of Maui was voted the most exclusive resort island in the world by Condé Nast Traveler, and keep in mind, Maui is only a simple, non-stop flight away. Hawaii Business Magazine Top 100 Realtors awarded Dennis Rush the 2011 fourth top realtor on the island of Maui. Go to www.dennisrush.com to view all of the amazing properties currently available in the Maui MLS system. Whatever your needs or desires, Dennis Rush will provide a private consultation for any Maui properties your heart desires. You will be in good hands. Once again, go to www.dennisrush.com. That's www.dennisrush.com. Contact Dennis today to start your Maui lifestyle now. Dennis Rush, proud sponsors of The Dawn Christie Show and LA Talk Live. Walk, run, climb, play. Solgar number 7 can help. Feel the difference for yourself. Solgar number 7 actually shows improvement in joint comfort within 7 days. Now you can start to get back on track fast and pursue the activities you love. Solgar number 7 is a breakthrough in joint care with no glucosamine and no chondroitin. The advanced bioactives in Solgar number 7 help to increase flexibility, mobility, range of motion, and actually shows improvement within just 7 days. One capsule, once a day, is all you need. When stiff joints occasionally say no, Solgar number 7 says yes. Visit Solgar.com and learn more about Solgar number 7 today. That's www.solgar.com, www.solgar.com. Solgar number 7, official sponsors of Here's to Your Health with Josh Lane and LA Talk Live.
What was I thinking? Love plows through me like a dozer.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back. This is Pathways to Love. I am Julie Orlov. I'm here with my co-host, Stephen Tako, and our guest, Alicia Datner. And we are talking about laughing your way through the pain and joy of relationships. And Alicia, so I wanted to get a take from you, like when you think back, what was one of your worst dates? Like, what was one of the worst times in relationships, and how did you use humor to get through it?
One of my worst dates. That's awful. I met a guy who was friends with a comedian that I had a crush on, and this guy wrote to me one year after having met me a few years before and said, "Hey, how you doing? What's going on?" and started this intense flirtation with me. And I was intrigued by him because he was really funny and pretty smart and just very interesting and seemed really to like me a lot. And so finally, after writing back and forth for a couple of weeks, I was like, why are you not asking me out? So finally we went out, and then he told me that he had a girlfriend.
Oops. And was she at home? And was she at home waiting for you guys?
What did you say?
And was she at home waiting for the two of you to return?
Oh my God, I can't even tell you. The story goes on and on. It ended with him instant messaging me. We were chatting on instant message for like an hour after I had already said, like, I'm not seeing you anymore, dude. And he was just being so weird. And then finally I just was like, I need to stop talking to you. So I stopped talking. And then he called me on the phone and he said, did you just tell my girlfriend everything that happened?
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, are you kidding? And then I realized in that moment, oh my God, your girlfriend was the one who was chatting with me.
Oops.
Oh, yeah, double oops.
Message. And then suddenly I'm trying to tell him this, and suddenly he's asking me if I'm telling him the truth.
Oh, well, yeah, he can flip that around pretty quick, huh?
I was in the middle of a very strange and insane love triangle.
You know, I think everybody has their versions of that. Stephen, do you have a worst date story? Does
A
one
worst date story? Gosh, I haven't gone on a lot of dates, but one of the weirdest things was when I first moved to California. The one date that I ever went on before I met my future ex-wife, is this girl. I went out with this girl, and she was cute, and she wanted to go dancing. And if somebody wants to like get my heart, it's either through food or through dancing. And so we went out to this dance club, and I just never forget. Like, I had a little bit of alcohol in me, right? But not too much. But when we were driving to and from the dance club, she just kept wanting me to like go super fast around corners.
Really?
Yeah. And I was just like, and then she's like she's like egging me, faster, go faster. So I guess that's pretty lame for a bad date, but that was kind of like my worst date, I guess.
Wow. I had a bad pre-date.
Yeah?
Yeah, I did. Look, before they had the internet, do you remember when they had those like personal ads? where you would actually write in a magazine. Do you remember that? You're old enough to remember that. He's looking at me like
Well, I
he's not
wasn't
old enough.
dating, so I don't know.
Okay, well, anyways, so this was when I was in my early 20s. I mean, it was when I was before, early on dating. I answered someone's ad and he called me and he just kept wanting to know what my bra size was. It was just, I mean, I was like, "Are you serious?" He says, "No, just just give me your cup size." And I said, "I don't think so." And that was the end of that. It's like, ew. There's a lot of ew out there.
That's kind of weird.
Yeah, I don't know. And now there's so much going on. But I guess it's a matter of the intensity of the pain and the distance between the event and the ability to laugh.
My thing about dating right now, and we talked a little bit about me dating, and I've just so you know, like I got divorced. My divorce was finalized a year ago. And so I really haven't been dating at all. I've been focusing on my acting career and trying to get all that going. And but I have this thing like, I'm kind of like almost afraid to date because I feel like I'm really picky and like I'm going to go on the date and I'm instantly going to know that I'm not going to like this person, and now I got to suffer through the meal, and then I got to pay for it, and then probably like I went on 2 dates. What's that?
Has no one told you about a get to know you?
What's that?
You meet someone for coffee.
Yeah, that's what I thought that I was going to do, but I don't. How do you meet someone for coffee?
You just say, "Let's meet for coffee."
Want to meet for coffee?
I don't know, but I got to find these. I got to find this girl.
I think Stephen needs a little attitude adjustment. That's what I hear in all this. I don't want to say anything, but I think. But Alicia, what advice can you give people who can take a rotten time, or Stephen, give him this advice: take a time that's disappointing or kind of icky or a rotten time or even a relationship that was so draining and never, came to be the way you wanted it to be. What advice can you give about how people can find the humor in it all?
Well, the first thing I would say is to be really gentle with oneself and not, anyone who might be having a reaction when you think of finding it funny, it's probably not time yet for you, or just be really gentle with this process. So, some people just are a little like, what do you mean find this funny? and those might be the people that would benefit most from this it's kind of therapy. But what I would say is really just to begin a practice of laughter, just not even necessarily related to the relationship, but just finding moments during the day, whether that's to laugh spontaneously for no reason, or to find things that make you laugh and make you giggle, especially from the belly, those really great belly laughs.
Oh, they're the best.
Gut laughter.
They make you feel, they're the best. They make you feel so good. It just releases so much dopamine, and I think the little serotonin gets released with all that stuff. I mean, it's really good. I'm talking about the struggles in relationships, but also I think laughter is one of the greatest ways to bond with human beings. I mean, that's why people love comedians. That's why they love sitcoms, is because we look at everything that we all experience in life, those little mundane things about life that we can all relate to. And because we can bond over it, and to bond through laughter, I just think is the best. I tell people, if they really want to have a good time on a first date or a second date, or, your 15th year of marriage, do something that makes you laugh together. So they have to go see your show, if nothing else.
It's true.
Where do you perform normally?
Well, I've performed around the world, but in the recent past, mostly in the Bay Area and in LA and New York. And I love performing in theaters. That's really my favorite place to perform, is to create an environment that I have total control over, and where people aren't drinking And I can just really create an atmosphere where people feel safe and excited to really just let out all of their feelings and their experiences, rather than being at a comedy club where, that you kind of have to keep your guard up in some way. And the lowest common denominator is often what's most funny. I think different environments create different senses of what is funny.
So tell me a little bit about, just moving on to your festival that's coming up. So what are some of the guest speakers? I'm not too sure what you would call the participants in your comedy festival. What can people expect when they sign up?
We are having a whole range of people, from comedians who have a sense of spirituality to spiritual teachers with a sense of humor. And then we also have coaches and other kinds of speakers who are going to share. We have the founder of Laughter Yoga, in fact, and he's going to share about the benefits of laughter and probably do some laughing exercises. And then we have people like Mark Lundholm and Wes Nisker and Craig Shoemaker and Swami Byandananda, and they're actually going to, we're going to do something like part interview and part comedy darshan, or part comedy blessing for people. And so they'll share some funny stuff that they might, generally say on stage, as well as we'll have the phone lines open, and we'll be taking calls as well for people who want to ask questions and be made fun of.
Nice.
There are people who love that. So you will get calls. It's like, oh, spank me. Okay. They do. They love that. Those are the people that raise their hands.
Hurt me.
Yeah, they raise their hands when they say, can I have a volunteer? And then there are the other people that will not give you eye contact. They say, leave me alone.
Speaking of which, do you have any stories regarding like S&M stuff that you've encountered?
That's why I love having Steven.
You have to come and see my show for that.
Okay.
Which one is that, so he knows? Yeah, that's where the really funny stuff comes in.
I make fun a bit of that community in with love, but with the polyamorous and the S&M people, I tend to have some humor that jokes about them.
Laughing aside, actually, there is something about S&M that makes me wonder, why people want to be punished and hurt. Since we're talking about comedy and spirituality and all that, what is your philosophy? Since I'm sure in your situation, your life, you have people sharing all kinds of stuff with you because you're probably a very open person and people feel comfortable talking to you. But is there something, what's your philosophy behind why there are people who actually thrive on being hurt?
Well, I think there are a number of different components at work, and I'm sure that Julie's therapeutic background would have more insight than mine, but I would say that there are different pieces that come together. So one of them might be that we want to confirm the negative part of ourselves, the part of ourselves that has those core wounds, so that we feel safe and comfortable, so that things feel familiar, and we can reaffirm that set of beliefs and structures that make our mind make sense. I think another reason why we might do that is because some people find that there's pleasure in pain. Just simple physical pleasure comes from a sense of discomfort and being pushed outside the comfort zone. And then I also think, and this is slightly different, this isn't sort of SM related, but I was for some reason thinking of Socrates, and where he says, enlighten me, make me better. And there's something about being shown something that we don't know, and having an experience that is outside of our realm of comfort or knowledge, and being enlightened in that way. And I don't know, maybe that's a whole other realm. It's not so much about being physically hurt as
Right.
shown something you don't know.
Yeah.
Well, and usually, I mean, I'll just speak from the psychological perspective. Usually there are boundaries and parameters that go into it. So it's not something that is so out of control. People do it in safe ways, and I think there's a lot of credibility and merit to all the things that you've said, Alicia. And I think another component is just the whole issue of control. Some people want to not be in control for once. They want someone to take control and be in control of them, and then vice versa. And it's interesting because I've worked with a few people over the years that this has been a big issue for them. And what they have shared is that this propensity into who they are is something they felt like they were born with, that there was some predisposition to it that was kind of out of their control. They said it's kind of like you don't choose to be gay, you wouldn't choose to be into this. That it's almost like even fetishes. People who have sexual fetishes.
They were born to be an S&M person.
They may be born to prefer certain things that they have. It's like, who's to say if somebody has a fetish about shoes? Okay, like there are men that have fetishes about shoes.
Right.
I mean, people would like to think, their mother had a pair of shoes and it was, and many times you cannot find anything that explains the whole shoe business. For some reason, how they are neurologically wired, there's something about that object that they attached to at some time for whatever reason, and then had an attachment to it. So, it's really, it's a whole interesting conversation. But, again, go ahead, Alicia.
Well, I feel like there are ways that, even not in the sexual realm, but just that so much of relationship is about that control, can be in unhealthy circumstances, can be about that push and pull and being in control or being taken over, and that we do that on an emotional level and we don't think of it as S&M, but really it is an intense experience, when we're dating in an unhealthy way.
Well, it's not even in an unhealthy way. I think everyone lies on that continuum. There's people are either afraid of being enmeshed, they're afraid of losing themselves, that someone's going to take themselves over, or they're too uncomfortable without a sense of attachment. So there's always a pursuer and a distancer, and there's always that dance. And I think a lot of it, honestly, is related to just vulnerability. People like to feel like they have control and their power and they're not going to be hurt. And so there is this dance, even in healthy relationships, there's always going to be a little bit of a dance when people start to feel too vulnerable or something happens that makes them possibly feel insecure in themselves. And then that's how it shows up in the relationship. So, yeah, I agree. Some things just show up more in certain areas of our lives. But the dance of relationships it's always a dance, and it's like anything. You have a moment of equilibrium every now and then it's gone as it should be.
I think when people are having sex and they do the S&M type of thing, that's along the lines. I think, Alicia, what you're saying is that it's really, what's the difference? That's almost like a game for those people, right? It's a game, it's a release, whatever, something that they're into. But then you've got people who are in a relationship where like, let's say particularly like the husband is so domineering, he's so strict and sometimes abusive to the wife, and she stays in that type of relationship. She stays. She's like the it's almost like a real life. S&M in a way, it's they're like, they can't get out of it.
Well, I would actually disagree with that. I would say that you can get out of it.
Yeah, as soon as I said that, I didn't mean it. Yeah.
It's like they're playing their game in real life, and the safe word is I'm leaving.
Right, exactly.
It's like you act, and I don't mean to discount people who are in abusive relationships who have a difficult time, whether that's financially or dependent or all of that stuff. But but oppression is an agreement between the oppressor and the oppressed in at some level, even if it's just energetically.
Yeah, it's an agreement, but we have to have a whole show on that because that's really an interesting topic. Because most abusive relationships really do not start out that way. There's a very subtle and progressive dynamic that takes place, and so you get caught up in it without necessarily even realizing, oh my God, one day how did I get here? And I think it's a myth out there because I think you need to be careful. I think you're absolutely right, Alicia. There is this unspoken agreement when you're doing that kind of dance. But sometimes I think what happens is people can start out in a fairly healthy dynamic, and then things start to build on each other, and before you know it, you've gotten way out on the fringes. And it becomes really dysfunctional.
Particularly when you have like an addiction involved, right? Like alcohol or drugs.
Could be, but it doesn't even need to matter. It's like it's a lot of issue of control, and there's a lot of different balancing acts that takes place. I mean, relations, if you want to take like the cover off of a book on relationships, and you can go deeper and deeper and deeper into understanding the dynamics that are taking place. And there's usually a lot of different factors that are pulling on those dynamics or pulling, from them. And it's a breathing, I tell people relationships are a living, breathing entity in and of themselves. No relationship is the same, and they're a life force. And just like a human being develops and shifts, and different experience may shift you one way or may cause you to be more cynical in another way, or it forms you. You're a progress. You're in the making. Relationships are the same way, and it's it's tricky. They're really tricky things. It's like getting out of your marriage. There was a lot of complexities that went into staying as long as you did and deciding when you could give yourself permission to leave.
Right.
And and I think, but I do think that having a sense of humor along the way will save you. And I think you're right on it with Alicia of knowing, when is the timing okay? When is it a good thing to say, all right, now I can laugh about this. I mean, my daughter at 14 throwing a party while I was out of town in my house where there were 5 cop cars, one broken window, one person arrested. It's been 7 years. I still don't have a sense of humor about it.
You're laughing. You're laughing now. Today's the day.
I'm almost there. I think when I hit the 10-year mark, we can laugh about it. But still, I remember that phone call when I was flying over the Grand Canyon. Oh. Mom, I have something to tell you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Alicia, like with your comedy, like do you have a time frame where you all of a sudden you're like, you know what? Okay, now I can start laughing about this? Or is it like usually the next morning?
So, some of each, I would say. I have certain things I really realized I didn't have perspective on for many years and couldn't figure out how to make them funny, and other things I had so much passion and fuel and anger or frustration about something that I just started writing about it and performing it that night. So kind of all over the map. But I really think that people can laugh about something just by practicing laughing at it, even if it doesn't seem funny. You can even just try thinking about that thing and going ha 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 and expressing whatever that emotion is through the ha, whether it's ha 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 or ha 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 ha.
Yeah. There you go. Look at the energy. Look at his energy has shifted already. So this is all great information, and I can't believe we're at the end of our hour. But before we let you go, please tell people how to sign up for the Spiritual Comedy Festival and how they can reach you.
They can go to spiritualcomedyfestival.com and put their name and email there, and it's free to join. So once again, spiritualcomedyfestival.com, and I coach people around self-love and bringing laughter and humor into self-expression and healing into one's life. And you can reach me by going to aliciadatner.com or creativeheartcoaching.com.
And I really encourage people to sign up. You've got a huge lineup. It's free. It's going to be fun. You can learn to laugh and really get all that dopamine going in your system. So if you're,
Nice.
I think it's going to be a great festival, and how fun that everybody can be on these calls together really around the world. So that's exciting. Okay, and if you need to find Stephen Tako, you can find him at stephentako.com. Is that correct?
That's right. Stephen with the PH.
There you go. And if you need me, I'm always here every Friday at 2:30 in the afternoon. But you can also reach me at julieorlov.com or thepathwaytolove.com or 888-99-PATHS. That's 888-99-PATHS. All right, everyone. I want you to go out and go see a comedy. Go see a comic. Really support your local comic out there and have a great laugh and really appreciate who your loved ones are and that you can laugh together about all our wonderful flaws and imperfections that we all have. I want everyone to have a great week. You have been watching Pathways to Love. I am Julie Orlov, and I'll look forward to seeing you all next Friday.
Bye, Alicia.
Bye, Alicia. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great week.
And there's always a big mess left over. With a what did you do and a what did you say? What did you do and a what did you say? Skillet on the stove, it's such a temptation. Maybe I'll be the special one that doesn't get burned. What the fuck was I thinking? What the fuck was I thinking?